Hi, I'm Ben Richardson, and you're listening to the Karate Podcast, where we talk about karate, the competitive sport of kumite, and the warrior's journey. Brought to you in association with Kumite Coach, the world's first progressive online high-definition coaching platform, created by coaches and fighters for coaches, fighters, and students of karate. Join kumitecoach.com today and take your karate to the next level. Today we have a special guest, Paul Newby Sensei, who is former WKF World Kumite Champion. He's also the BKF coach and British Olympic performance coach. He's a coach to top fighters throughout the UK and is well renowned for his expertise and knowledge. I'm really excited about having him on the podcast today. He's also part of kumitecoach.com, which is fantastic for us. So welcome, Newby Sensei. Thanks for joining us. Would you be able to start by just telling us your story about karate and how you found it, and then maybe just take us briefly through your journey so far?
Wow, that's a 30 odd years that now. Feel old. Like most people, I think it was a bit of bullying when I was younger. So my parents took me to a local karate club. I don't know if you remember this, Ben, but martial arts movies were big back then. Yeah, Bruce Dams, you know. So, and they were like main, cinema movies. You know, now it's like they're not that popular. So, I used to watch them movies. I just wanted to not only defend myself, and my parents wanted me to, but also these films were great. Started off in a local club nearby, a Wado club. I got my first belt with Suzuki and Sakagami, and realised I did enjoy the competition side of things at some club competitions. And my dad worked with a guy on the gas board, and he was like a top coach, but it was Shuka Kai. And he decided to take me down there when I got a bit more into it. And I was a part of the SKU, which was a big association years ago. Sensei Stan Knighton was the top coach there, the main sensei. My tournaments, travelling around with my dad. My dad didn't drive at the time, and he decided to try and pass his driving test, and he was in his 40s, to be able to take me to these tournaments. So that's what we did, and I started going around the circuit and doing okay, not bad. And then became, one of the main faces on the circuit and winning, the competitions. I was only a lightweight, so, and when I was in the open weights, I was still winning against bigger people. I then went to, I think it was when the EKGB first started, and I was a part of the EKB, which was the KUGB, which you guys were part of. Yeah. I was in that, the EKB, and then was the EKC that came together, and they had the EKGB, and I saw the EKC part of then I think it was, what was the governing body then, the main governing, it wasn't WKF, it was something else back then, but that's what the Vic Charles, Jeff Thompson was a part of, and then there were these guys fighting that day, and it was Wayne Otto, Willie Thomas, and it would just really, really open my eyes to this other governing body of fighters. And Wayne Otto did the treble that day, won his weight, the open weight, and the team, and that was it. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to fight for England and be like him. All the others fantastic, don't get me wrong, Willie, Ian Cole, Paul Alderson, Augustus Paulson, fantastic fighters, all in different teams fighting against each other, and I just thought, that is what I want to be. And it changed me. That Monday, that was on a Sunday in Birmingham, the championships, and I went back on the Monday afterwards, and I was bouncing around, and I was a bit more slick and a little bit more movement-y, and it was just a little bit different way of fighting. What I was used to doing was a bit static and a bit on a straight line, and these guys were different. And that's it. It changed my way of training, the way I looked at things, and started to go to tournaments, doing even better. And then I went to the my first national training, England squad training, with Vic Charles. Vic Charles was my first England coach. And you know, from there on, I've trained with the England team. Managed to make it as a senior. You know, a lot of people have fought for England or competed for England, but senior is a different thing. I didn't fight as a junior under 21. It wasn't something we really pushed in my club back then. I mean, I do now. Now you can fight for England at 14 years old, but I didn't fight for England until I was 20.
Right.
And you know, I got on the England team, and I was a regular face on the England team. I made my category quite a lot, and went to the Opens, started establishing myself abroad and being a bit of a face on the podium regular abroad. And, you know, managed to move on to be one of the most successful minus 60 kilo fighters in the world and what Britain's produced. And one of my main achievements was that I made the men's team. I might not have always got in the 5 and maybe not fought every round, but, you know, for a minus 60 to make the men's England team, back then as well, the England team, we medalled all the time, most of the time. You know, we never won the big one and never won a European or Worlds, but we got silvers, we got bronze. And I was in that team contributing, you know, and you got to think in that team, they were all big lads: Rory Daniels, Davin Pack, Craig Burke, you know, Leon Walters, obviously world heavyweight champion, you know, Paul Richards, you know, all big fellas, and Jason Legister, and then little old me, you know, minus 60. So that was a big achievement for me. And I got good at team fighting through how good the England circuit was back then. Team event, brilliant, all up and down the country. You know, you fight for your club team, and you'd be meeting, you know, teams from all over the country who were all big fellas and, you know, tough days. You could go to an open tournament in England back then and have 15 fights in one day. So prepared me for the England thing. But that was one of my main achievements. And you know, that's what I did, and it ended up being my job. I was on the lottery funding for a lot of years. For about 6 years, I was lottery funded, and it's what I did for a profession. I was a fully funded athlete. Got all my trips obviously funded. All the you know, back when England were, you know, were a force, and you know, good times. We travelled the world fighting. That was my job. So some people may have fought abroad and fought for England or what, but it was their second. They had an occupation, whereas that was all I did. So I was lucky. I suppose not lucky. I worked hard at it. I trained hard, and you know, I can look back and think, wow, you know, what a great life I had as a competitor in karate.
Yeah, fantastic. And how do you see Kumite today as a sport? Versus how it was back when you were active as an athlete yourself? Do you think it's changed a lot, or is it similar, or are fighters facing the same challenges?
Yeah, of course. But people say, oh, it's not as tough as it used to be, and it's like, oh, give over, come on. You know, these guys are. I like to think I was part of the modern era. You know, we're in the 2000s, and karate, the rules had changed to pretty similar to how they are now. But you know, people are so more skillful, and you know, it's like boxing. You know, the old fights when you see these old black and white fights, and they're absolutely beating each other to a pulp. Yeah, because nowadays people know how to defend and move their head, and you know, look after themselves. And it doesn't mean that they're not as tough. The lads, the best fighters that are around today could have lived in any era, and the only problem that England have got are numbers. Not as many people do it as they used to do. I think in the EKGB, when I was a part of that, there were like 150,000 members. I mean, that might be absolutely accurate, but it were a lot. And now there might be 20, 30,000. So there's not many. There's no funding for British athletes anymore. There's a little bit of a contribution, I think, if you get high up there. So. And it's who's doing karate now. It's quite expensive, you know. I run an amateur boxing club, and it's just way cheaper to do it. So karate is expensive to do. Whereas I had a conversation with Jeff Thompson a few months ago, And he was on about, if it had been like it is now, when he was getting into karate, him and Vic Charles, he said he wouldn't have been able to do it because he wouldn't have been able to afford it. So you wouldn't have had this great champion or champions because it would have been too expensive. And that's another problem we face. In Kazakhstan, which are one of the best countries in the world at the moment, and they seem to have come from nowhere, but they can't have done it. They must have been doing it at this level for a while, but we just hadn't sort of noticed. But karate's free over there if you're a kid. And then when you get onto the national squad, you are well looked after. They have one of the best programs in boxing, best programs in wrestling, and best programs in karate now. And that's why they're doing so well, because anyone can access it. It's free. And then when you get to the national team, they've got one of the best setups there is in the world. That's why Kazakhstan now are a force, because of that structure. Whereas in England, to train on the regional team, it's 20 quid. I mean, come on. To go to a competition, it's at least 30, 40 quid. Get there in travel, and then your parents have to pay 8, 10 quid to get in, to watch you. Yeah. I mean, that's criminal, you know what I mean? These kids are wanting to take part in a sport, a life skill, which is, self-defense, and it's just so expensive. So that's the difference. Back when I was doing it, it was more accessible, it was cheaper, and the numbers were high, and so the foundations were great when I was involved. Whereas it's slipping, or it's slipped.
Yeah. And so we'll come back to that in a little bit, because one of the things we want to do as part of Kumite coaches is help fighters financially, and provide some sort of funding to help them move forward. But going back to your days as a fighter, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in terms of your own training, and then how does that compare now as a coach? Like, as a coach, you'll have challenges you're facing day to day as well. Can you just talk a little bit about your challenges you faced as a fighter, first of all?
I think it was, I wanted to specialise in Kumite. I did do the both, which most people in my era and before, maybe even now for some people, you've got to do both. But I wanted to just focus on my Kumite. But still in the weekly sessions, we were still covering things that I think was taking my time and my effort away from what I wanted to be specific on, which was fighting.
Yeah. So,
yeah, you don't do the kata side of things, but if someone does only kata in karate, no one seems to, that's fine. But if you're the other side, like me, who just wanted to focus on fighting, it was like, oh, well, you're not really doing real karate. Again, I don't agree with my opinion. I don't agree with, I want to fight. That's up to me. You want to do kata, that's up to you. If you want to do both, it's up to you. So, I would go into training, and sometimes you do 45 minutes, 50 minutes of basics and kata. And I mean, we're talking like, not basics like basic kicking and punching, basics like eye gouge or a knee or some crane stance. And it's like, well, I get doing basics in what I do, punching, kicking, blocking, moving, basic, break it right down. I get that. But some of the moves were so far from what I was wanting to specialize in. That's something a little bit like, I love with it, because it's like, well, I'm not getting the weekly training I need to be what I want to be. So we started doing a lot of training on my own with my training partners, but not just aimlessly doing it and not thinking about it. We were putting a lot of time and effort into watching it and devising training sessions back when I was a competitor. And I think that's why I moved on to be quite a good coach, because I was always coaching myself and my guys that are Craig Burke, Kane Canning, Matt Price. I would always coming up with training sessions for us to get ready for competitions. So training were difficult. Facilities, oh my word, the facilities. Yeah. There weren't any. It's simple as that. I mean, Matt Price has got his own dojo. I've got my own dojo. Nearly everyone has their own dojo now. I mean, we used to go abroad as the England team and train in tennis courts and in squash courts, and we were the national squad, one of the best teams in the world, and we didn't even have mats. And I know back then you sort of, well, we don't need them, but wow, that now you wouldn't even dream training without mats.
Yeah.
But like a boxer, they're not going to train in a squash court either. They need a boxing ring.
Yeah.
You know, a judo player or a BJJ, they need mats. We needed mats, but it wants some of that. So the facilities were just terrible. I remember doing a fight off in an airport. We had to fight off in an airport.
What, in a room?
Now, like now you can't even do fight-offs without the full referee structure, everything. And yeah, rightly so, because we have to. If we have to be professional and that. So facilities were bad. My students are so spoiled. They don't even realise it. They've got a high-level coach, high-level training partners, and nice facility. It's not the best in the world, but it's we were training in church halls and wooden carpets, burning your feet. If you got pushed into the wall, there were radiators. You know what I mean? It would just, but that's how it was. Everyone sort of trained out of school halls and churches back then. So facilities were bad, and to start off with, obviously we're never going to be a professional. My friend, one of my best friends, played for Derby County at football, so he was like going to become a millionaire. My other friend were running for Great Britain as a long distance runner, and he was like traveling away with like Linford Christie and people like that. So, and I was going to be the poor karate guy who's never going to do it as a job. But it all changed when the lottery money came in, and I ended up being a professional athlete as well. So to start with, it was always like, why, I'm going to have to get a job at some point, and I decided to be poor and stay at my parents' house and just sort of cadge off them. It paid off, because then when the lottery money came around, I were at a level where I could just, bring home the medals and get paid.
Yeah.
So, they were a few of the difficulties. And also in karate, again, I think, you could have a club of 50 black belts and only 2 of them can fight. So training partners were difficult back when I was trying to make it. Because the rest of them are just practicing it as a martial art, a hobby, or a self-defense, bit of fitness. So how can them people even come near to be able to train with me, who's trying to become a world champion? So training partners was bad, and Matt Price suffered that as well, and that's why he sourced out me and Craig Burke. Kane were a little bit younger then, but he sourced us out because he needed training partners. So he started to come over and train with us.
Yeah.
Because in his club he might have had 100 people there, but hardly any could fight competition style at that level. So they're just a few of the things off the top of my head.
Yeah. And what challenges you find are the toughest being a coach, whether it's a club coach or national coach or now British Olympic coach?
Again, I think when I was doing I don't want to say this out of turn, back when I was doing it, the main guys, we were all like working class, like I don't know, Davin works for his family company, the construction. Rory Daniels is a roofer. I would just, I don't know what I was going to do. I just wanted to be a karate guy. And I'm not speaking out of turn. I think it were a different type of person. So we were all quite hardy and everything, and so we just did it. Whereas now a lot of the karate guys are educated people. I'm not saying we were educated, we were stupid, but these people have got a university and stuff, so they can either go down the karate path and be skinned and spend money. It's all out of their money. It's like, hang on a minute, I'm spending thousands of pounds a year, or go down the route of what I've got my education in. Some of the guys are like solicitors and work in banking, and it's like, or have a nice life and buy everything that I want. And, so we have that problem now. So these people are like, enough's enough. I've been doing it a lot of years and I'm paying out so much money. It's not worth it. I need to get into my making money for my family and stuff, and you get see through the degree and go into a job that they've planned. So they definitely have that. The type of person that's doing karate now, I mean, like I say, you have to be quite wealthy to afford to do it. So there might be some people on some date somewhere in the area, some tough kids that could come in and be the next best thing. I'm not saying the people that are doing it can't be, because obviously we've proved it, but like the accessibility is not there for everyone, because it's just, so yeah. And some people say the snowflake era a little bit, we're getting a bit softer. People have got everything in England now. Everyone's got an iPad, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got, what do they want for, what they're fighting for. Whereas some countries, they're still saying that these people are really fighting to make something themselves, make money for themselves and the family, and the rewards are so high for them to succeed.
Yeah.
I do, like Turkey, if you win your world gold medal, you get a house.
Wow.
Whereas I won my world title, I was nothing changed for me. If anything, the lottery money stopped 4 months later. So, wow. Whereas the world title, they win a house. For the Azerbaijan, they won the Baku European Games. If they won a gold medal at that, they won 150,000 euros.
Whoa. So
if that come on, professional boxing, UFC, I love all these sports. I mean, UFC's on tonight, I can't wait. If you knew you were going to be put in the time, put in the effort, you'll not only be famous and you'll achieve a lifelong goal, but also you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah, it's probably going to attract a lot more people.
You're going to put that extra effort in. You're going to go that extra mile. Yeah. Whereas, you're going to put the time and effort in. You're going to win a world title, but you're going to be skint.
Yeah.
What do you do?
That makes that is an issue. And what was I going to say? Can you tell us a little bit about the people of influence in your martial arts career? Who are the main instigators of change for you? You mentioned seeing Wayne Otto winning, and that was a big turning point for your sort of thoughts around competition. But who were the guys that coached you? Who are the guys that pushed you on to the next coach? What kind of happened around that?
Yeah, like I said, that seeing that competition that day changed my way of thinking and how I wanted to approach my karate. I was lucky enough to be in Vic Charles's association in my late teens, so he was his thought process on how to compete was just, I've never seen anything like it. The guy is intense.
Yeah.
Like win it all. Just the competitiveness in that man is unreal. Excuse me. Tiki Don was my second England coach. He was coach before Vic. Vic moved in with Abdu and got the job. Coached for 3 years, and then Tiki came back. So Tiki was my coach with Wayne as his assistant which was fantastic. He was assistant stroke, still competing. He came out of retirement on 2 pre-trainings and was in the men's team, and we medalled. So Tiki was my head coach with Wayne as his assistant. So they were then a part of my whole karate career as an international athlete. Yeah. Ian Cole was a part of that setup. Willie Thomas was a part of that setup, but just not as much as obviously Wayne, and Tiki led that. Being a part of a great team. I mean, my aim was to join my teammates as champions. So Wayne, Ian were teammates to start with, and then the likes of Leon, Jason, Davin, Rory, and Milo, Kane, Craig Burt. We were all medalists, and it were like we had to win a medal to be a part of that club. Yeah. So when I won my first K1 medal, I think it was the Paris Open, I got a bronze. It was like, wow, thank God, I've now won one like they have. Brilliant junior careers. Leon Walters, I think, were 3 times under 21 under 21 European champion. Jason had won in silvers. Davin Pack was under 21 European and world champion. The champion, you know. We celebrate Joe Calloway and Brandon Carr and them now, which is fantastic. They've got bronze medals. Davin did the double. He won the European and the Worlds as an under 21. So I was in that squad and felt a little bit, I need to do something here because I'm not fitting in with these guys. These guys have got their CVs way above mine.
Yeah.
So I would just get them medals to be a part of this great bunch of lads. So they inspired me a lot. You know what I mean? The brothers. You know. Yeah. So the female athletes as well. I'm not to leave them out. The female athletes that were at the same. Just one of them, Katrina Law. She was 18 years old and she won the European Championships in Turkey, 2000, and she won the final 6-0.
Wow.
First to 6, she won 6-0.
Amazing.
And she was 18 years old, and I'm like, I'm 22. She's only going to win this, and I don't get my finger out.
Yeah.
So they really inspired me. You know, obviously my parents. I've got kids. My daughter Bobby was born in 2002. When on the weekend that I won the world bronze medal, my daughter was born the day I got home on the Monday. I won that on the Saturday, the bronze medal, and we had a team silver as well. So I mean, you know, I fought for them to try and just keep my lottery money in, and so I'm, you know, my training partners, Matt Price, Kane, Craig. They were my main training partners. They inspired me because they were tough. We were from the north. We were, you know, a team. You know, we were together around the circuit. We won English, British 3-on-3s. We travelled the world, fought in competitions. So they were massive influences, and they inspired me. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And we had Matt obviously on last week talking about his journey in karate, and one of his big turning points was meeting yourself and finding that little training group you had going. And since then you've become great friends. And you're also both part of KumitéCoach.com as well, the two head coaches. Can you remember meeting Matt for the first time and how that went down for you?
Yeah, like it was yesterday. I was fighting in Nottingham at the AMA International. I actually fought my main rival from England at the time, great fighter, European and world medalist, Milo Hodge. We had some battles to get it. We knew if whoever went abroad, we were going to win something. So that we were legendary. And I fought him in the final, beat him. And Craig fought in the heavyweight division, smashed everyone because the heavyweights around him at that time just weren't nowhere near him, except Lee. He never did the circuit up north. Craig with that came on his bit, and then we did a team event and we just annihilated everyone. We were menaces. We were just so much better than everybody else. No one could come near us. We were competing at the English level, British level, 3-on-3, winning 3-on-3, and then we were in the northern circuit. We turn up and teams would leave. They'd leave, bags leave, because they were like, we used to have coaches coming up and saying take it easy or complaining because we were just too different level then. The gap, and Matt was there in the crowd watching, and he approached us and he says, look, I'm in the KUGB, which I knew. Craig and Kane and that didn't really know the KUGB really that much, but I remember it from when I was a kid. I knew it was a big association, but I knew they were very like old schoolers in the Ippon Shobu type fighting, no gloves. Yeah. So I knew it and respected it. And he's full-time coach now, and he wants to better his fighting career. And I think he got a silver in the KGB Nationals. That was his best medal or something at the time. And he stayed and watched us, and I just said, look, you know, at the end of it, when we've done the business, because loads of people back then came up to us and wanted to train with us and wanted to be a part of what we were doing, because we were good fighters, fighting abroad, winning stuff. We were homegrown fighters from competition. You know, the organisers, the referees all knew us from kids, from being like pee-wees. Me and Craig were fighting in them tournaments as pee-wees. So we were homegrown, and we were awesome. We were getting on the international circuit and beating countries as three lads from the north in the same England team beating countries.
Yeah.
I remember I went over to Addingham because Matt's terrible with directions. He's got Matt couldn't find his way anywhere back then because he was doing with a map. So I had to to meet him, to bring him to Silsing. We took him to the hotel. We used to train in a hotel that sort of sponsored us. We were allowed to use the facilities, the swimming pool, the jacuzzis and that. And we'd train up in the function rooms because I used to work there. So I'd sorted it out. And that's where we trained through his all careers in the day. And we took him there and it was renowned. We hurt people. I don't necessarily agree with it so much now, but that was the way then. We train hard and fast all the time, fitness like you won't believe it. If you can't pull your weight, you're getting hurt. And Matt came and he had a good session, but it was so tough. It was different to what he was used to. Now he'll explain and he'll admit it now that he couldn't walk for like a week. But he came back and he came back again. And he came back again, and it was tough for him. And, you know, Craig Burke's an heavyweight. Matt was a class as an heavyweight, but he's nowhere near Craig's size. So it's not like he was training with lightweights and Kane, who's like a class as a light middleweight. Craig Burke was one of the best heavyweights, WKF, and big. So not just a heavyweight, one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Absolute monster, great kicker. Big puncher, you know what I mean? He went into full contact fighting and no one's lasted the distance. I think in MMA he's had 4 fights and all 4 haven't got past a minute. And so he had it tough and he just kept coming back and back. Respect. And he's from a real traditional background and you know, loves his karate, and I respect that. And that's why I still respect it now, because of Matt, you know. So he really did get respect off us, and we've been friends ever since. We speak to each other every week. Before the lockdown, we meet up for a coffee every week, just discuss karate, and we teach the Yorkshire Dales camp every year now. Obviously, it won't be on this year, but that's been a success, and it's just a good blend. We're straight talking to each other. We're honest. He tells me when he thinks I'm wrong. I tell him when I think he's wrong, or you know, when we always meet in the middle of that respect. And that all started just from a competition in Nottingham, and you know, but he's always been in my corners for full contact fighting. When I went into that, he's always somewhere around other things that I'm doing. He did Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a while. I think he's too busy now. He got to blue belt. We did that together, and you know, we just love fight. We love fighting. We love combat. So yeah, and we're all still friends now. But that's respect for that. You know, I could have 2 years, 3 years away from speaking to Matt, and I pick up the phone. It's like not that we do, but I could pick up the phone. I just know we'd just hit it off like that. You know, same with the other guys on the team. You know.
Yeah, fantastic. Just with regard to your like the combat side of things in your training, you obviously went on to do some K1 full contact kickboxing matches. There's one that I've seen on Eurosport where you fight I think a kung fu guy.
Yeah.
And then so you were obviously trained in boxing. Were you doing that during your karate career, or was that something you started after your karate, or do you think there's value in cross training for karate guys?
For me, it was because I wanted that. I needed that, some like I said earlier about going to a club and doing 45 minutes kata, and then having 15 minutes sparring with people that probably aren't good enough to really spar with you. I need some challenge here. I need someone to be punching me in my face. I need to be feeling scared and out of my comfort zone. So, and my family are boxers. You know, we've got Irish. My grandparents were Irish. My granddad was a good boxer. Old school, you know, fighting in these booths, you know, these fairground things, and then went on to be a really good sort of amateur pro. Back then, they were a bit different. They got paid, but it wasn't really the job. But he was a good boxer. So I always loved boxing, and then like I said, I needed a challenge. Where I live, it's quite political, and like, you know, little villages. Who's the toughest? Who's the toughest in the school? Who's the hardest man in this village? And you know, there were lads at school that were boxers, and I wanted to have a fight with them without getting told off. So I used to go down to local boxing club and spar with the lads, and found I loved it. I loved boxing on telly. Me and my dad used to watch it all the time. We loved the memorabilia. So I was boxing alongside my karate, but my karate was my number one. I loved it. You know, I loved it. It's my baby. Yeah. So yeah, I've been boxing since about 1996. Definitely once a week, twice a week. If I were off from karate for a bit, I'd go down more. I'd do it on my own time. I loved it. I loved the defensive side of it, and I love the. You got to be tough to be a boxer. To get punched in your face 99% of the time, it's tough. Way tougher than MMA. But I believe in karate. If it's done right, a lot of it's done wrong, and I can say that. And I'll challenge anybody who wants to ever chat to me about it, and I'll tell them karate is done wrong a lot. Whereas boxing, it can't. If you're an amateur boxer, you can't be done wrong. You're going to hit each other and bend yourself and take punches, and learn how to take a punch and learn how to throw a punch. And whereas some karate clubs can really be so far from that and do it just kata or basic thin air training for the whole career. How's that going to get you ready for a real fight or to defend yourself or whatever? So, you know, I really did respect the boxing, but I knew karate done right is fantastic, and that's why I took the K1 fight. Yeah. A few people got offered the fight with Joe Long, you know, the 10K guy. Yeah. Fighters Inc. He was ringing around people saying, I can get you a fight on this show. It was called the K1 Battle of Britain. The winner of that would go to Japan to fight in the K1 Grand Prix. When K1 was big, it was as big as on every year. It's the Grand Prix. I used to love that. And I got the phone call and was, yeah, I'll have it. Doesn't matter. I know karate, done right. I'll sort this guy out. And I got offered the fight, got offered the opponent. He was like, I don't care who it is, as long as it's the same weight as me, let's do it. And I knocked him out because I knew karate would, if done right.
Fantastic. It was a great fight. It was good to watch. And Matt was in the corner, wasn't he? Cornering you.
Yeah, again, I did my boxing. I travelled down to London. Joe Long got me loads of sparring. I travelled around I went through a lot for that. I was training boxing, sparring every week, you know, rounds and rounds. I was going down my weekends were spent travelling around London to gyms, sparring with Thai boxers, pro boxers, kickboxers, MMA guys, and just doing rounds and rounds and rounds. And then I'd drive back up the motorway on Sunday night thinking, if my people knew what I was having to go through, going into people's dojos, and it was a real fight every time. You know, it was full contact. None of they're not going to let me go into their gym and rule it. They're trying to kill me. So I had to do that all the way up to that fight. Matt was a part of my training at home with my conditioning, my leg conditioning, which I don't think we've got time to go into, but that was brutal. Matt would just, because that was my biggest fear. Whenever the punch to the face, whenever the movement, never the kicking punch. I knew I was sorry. It was taking leg kicks worried me. So was in charge of my leg conditioning. By the time the fight came around, we broke a kendo sword on my legs. The sword was broke. He smashed it over a period of 4 months. We broke a kendo sword, one of them bamboo things, on my legs. That's how serious that's how we were. We're not going to leave it to chance. When he kicked my legs, he was kicking, and I kept that up in my karate, because back then we didn't have the foot guards or the shin guards were optional. My shins were like concrete. I'd go into a karate competition against a lightweight, and I'd put one around his back or throw it as hard as I could. You know, not being skillful. I wasn't just being a brute. And if he were in the way of that's your problem. You know what I mean? And I took that into my karate and kept that up. So that Matt was in charge of my conditioning. We always did fitness training together. We always, he was always interested in kickboxing and stuff with me. So he did. I know Matt's a traditionalist. You all see him in his gi all the time, but Matt knows his stuff. He can grapple, he can box, he can kickbox. He's no mug. I've got a fun story that I could tell you about at my gym, and these cage fighters offered Matt into the cage, and I was running down the steps going, no, because these guys were inexperienced, and Matt destroyed them, both of them. One of them broken ribs, right mess.
Oh man, we are running out of time. I just wanted to ask one more question. We're gonna have to get you back because we haven't done half of them. I've got a dojo, obviously, and I get people in who have aspirations in their karate. Quite often, you ask people what they want to be in. I want to be world champion in kumite, or it might be kata, but let's say kumite. And within one competition, that idea has evaporated from their head. You made it one of the few people that have become a world champion in all styles karate. Could you just tell us a little bit about that day when you won
that? When I won it,
yeah,
relief, without a doubt, relief. Oh my God! I were only 26. I was like thinking, I've done it now. Pressure's off. I can now enjoy myself. Because people don't realise how much you put into, even the guys that are doing it now, the work you really have to put in to become the world champion or a world medalist, European medalist. You have to sacrifice everything. Family, money, a life, as in like being able to enjoy yourself. At the prime time where you could be out with your pals, partying and enjoying your life, which I totally agree with. That's why I tell my guys, when you're in the off season, enjoy it, because once we were on the circuit to get to the European or Worlds, you're gonna have to sacrifice everything, and I did. I don't get me wrong. When I won my medals, I went and let my hair down, I wind down, and my dad let me go out for to enjoy myself, because it was so tough, so much training, so much heartache. A pal of mine, he ended up being a velodrome world champion in this velodrome cycling. He won a world title a few years after me at that, and we once sat in a cafe and we said, what if we could write down the words what you could associate with your world title, should we do it now? And we wrote it all down, and there wasn't one nice word on that. It wasn't like happy, and it was like blood, sweat, sacrifice, anxiety, everything was, but it's worth it when you do it. So it was just pure relief, because everything up until then was just like brutal. And the guys that I work with now, I've got a few fighters here in my house now that all want to go to Olympics. I work closely with Jordan Thomas. I have done for all his career, but more so up in Manchester. And there's so much effort, and you just hope that people within the governing body don't really know how much these guys really put in and how much sacrifice they do. And that's why I just hope that they all get it. I really do. Our top fighters in this country now, male and female, I just hope that they get the reward back of like getting to at least experience that Olympics, because they deserve it. They train as hard as any other sport, and they do it for the love of it, because they don't do it for the money.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we're gonna have to stop there, Newbie Sensei. Thanks so much for being on the cast, and look forward to getting you back to get some more of these questions answered and some more tales from yourself. Thank you very much.
Quick one for you, Ben.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep calling me sensei. Maybe coach, but you definitely have to keep calling me sensei. I'm your pal.
I'll have to work on that though.
Your pal. You're a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're a black belt in karate. Why you keep calling me sensei?
Let's just have it.
Just call me a lad.
All right, lad. All right, well, I'm going to stop it now.
All right, mate.